Have you ever wondered why saying no can be so difficult? It seems like a simple two-letter word, yet it's one that we often stumble over, caught in the crossfire of societal expectations and personal boundaries. In our fast-paced world, we are often pressured to do more, be more, and say yes more. It's as if the word no has been banished from our vocabulary, replaced with a relentless drive to please, to accommodate, and to fulfill every request that comes our way. But what if we told you that this constant yes is not only exhausting but also detrimental to our well-being? Meet John. He's a hard-working professional, the kind of person who's always there when you need him. John is a yes man. Whether it's taking on an extra project at work, helping a friend move, or attending a social event he'd rather skip, John always says yes. It's not that he wants to do all of these things, but he feels obligated. He believes saying yes is the right thing to do, the expected thing to do. But what John doesn't realize is that his inability to say no is slowly draining him. In every yes that he reluctantly utters, John is sacrificing his time, his energy, and ultimately his happiness. He's stretching himself thin, trying to live up to an ideal that's impossible to reach. And the worst part? He's not alone in this struggle. Many of us find ourselves in John's shoes, feeling the weight of every yes and the guilt of every no. But what if we told you it doesn't have to be this way? What if we told you that saying no is not only okay but also necessary for our well-being? That it's possible to set boundaries, prioritize self-care, and still maintain healthy relationships? Saying no is an art. It requires practice, patience, and a deep understanding of one's values and priorities. And once mastered, it can transform your life in ways you never imagined. Let's see how John's inability to say no affects his life. John is a yes man, but what happens when John can't say no? Imagine a man named John. He's known as the yes man. No matter the request, no matter the time, John is always there, always ready to lend a hand, a shoulder to lean on, a reliable colleague, a dependable friend. But what happens when John can't say no? There's a heavy toll on John's personal life. His calendar is an endless list of commitments: birthdays, weddings, volunteer events, overtime at work. He's constantly on the move, always on call. His relationships start to strain under the weight of his constant availability. He's there for everyone, but who is there for him? The bonds of friendship begin to feel like chains, pulling him in every direction. His personal life is no longer personal, it's public, it's communal, it's shared with everyone but himself. His health is the next to suffer. Sleep becomes a luxury he can't afford. Meals are rushed, exercise is non-existent. His body begins to show signs of wear and tear. His eyes are always tired, his back always aches. Stress and anxiety become his constant companions. His health, once robust and vibrant, is now a shadow of its former self. Then comes the impact on his job performance. His work, once meticulous and thorough, becomes sloppy and inconsistent. Deadlines are missed, projects are delayed. His colleagues begin to notice, his superiors start to question. His career, once a source of pride and accomplishment, is now a source of stress and disappointment. John's life is spiraling out of control. He's overcommitted and underappreciated. He's stretched thin, spread out, worn down. He's a yes man living a no life. The consequences of always saying yes are too high a price for John to pay. John's life is spiraling out of control. But what if there was a way to change all this? What if John learned the art of saying no? Now let's introduce a new character into our story, Sarah. Sarah is masterful at setting boundaries and saying no. She recognizes the value of her time, her energy, and her well-being. She appreciates her limits and respects her priorities. When requests or opportunities come her way that do not align with her values, she is not afraid to decline them respectfully. Sarah's life is starkly different from John's. She doesn't suffer from burnout, she doesn't feel overwhelmed, and she doesn't carry resentment. She honors her commitments because they align with her values, and she doesn't take on more than she can handle. She's not constantly rushing from one task to another trying to please everyone. Instead, she lives a balanced life, managing her time effectively and maintaining her energy levels. This freedom, this peace of mind is the power of no. It's not about being negative or unhelpful. It's about being real, being authentic. It's about saying yes when it matters and no when it doesn't. It's about understanding that you can't do everything for everyone, and that's okay. It's about honoring yourself and your needs. And in doing so, being able to give more to the things that truly matter. Now let's reimagine John's life under the influence of the power of no. Imagine John, not weighed down by the burden of endless commitments, but light, free, and empowered. Imagine him having time to pursue his passions, to spend with his loved ones, to rest and rejuvenate. Imagine him not feeling guilty for prioritizing his well-being but instead feeling fulfilled and content. This is the transformation that the power of no can bring about. It's not just about saying a word, it's about asserting your right to prioritize yourself. It's about standing up for your values, your time, your energy. It's about living with authenticity and integrity. Imagine the possibilities if John could harness the power of no. Let's see how John can learn this skill. John decides to learn from Sarah. But how does one learn to say no? Just like John, many of us are puzzled by this question. And Sarah has some insightful answers. The first step she teaches John is to recognize his own limits. This is not about being weak or unable, but rather understanding that we are all human, and we all have a threshold. We need to be aware of our mental, emotional, and physical limits and respect them. It is okay not to be available for everything and everyone all the time. Next, Sarah introduces John to the concept of setting boundaries. She explains that boundaries are like invisible lines that protect our personal space, our time, and our energy. They define what we are comfortable with and what we are not. Setting boundaries means making clear what we can accept and what we cannot, and it requires courage and honesty. Sarah also emphasizes the importance of prioritizing self-care. She reminds John that taking care of oneself is not a luxury but a necessity. It is like the safety instructions on an airplane. You need to secure your own oxygen mask before helping others. If we don't take care of ourselves, we may not be able to help others effectively. The last lesson Sarah imparts to John is about the art of saying no. She tells him that saying no is not about being rude or unkind. It is about being assertive and respectful. She encourages him to practice saying no in a firm yet polite manner, expressing his needs and wants clearly and honestly. Sarah points out that learning to say no is not a one-time thing but a process. It takes practice and patience. It may be uncomfortable at first, but with time it becomes easier and more empowering. With these lessons, John realizes that saying no is not about rejecting others, but about accepting himself. It is not about losing friends, but about gaining respect. It is not about being selfish, but about being self-aware. John is ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. John has learned to say no. But how has this changed his life? Let's delve into John's story and see how this simple, yet powerful word transformation has influenced his life. Before John learned the art of saying no, he was constantly overwhelmed. His personal life was chaotic, his health was deteriorating, and his job performance was suffering. His self-esteem was at an all-time low. But once he began to say no assertively, changes started to manifest. In his personal life, John found that his relationships began to shift. He was no longer the go-to person for everyone's needs and wants. This freed up time for him to focus on his own needs, wants, and interests. He started to engage in activities that brought him joy and fulfillment. His friendships and family relationships became more balanced and satisfying. In terms of his health, John found that his stress levels significantly reduced. He had more time for self-care activities like exercise, meditation, proper nutrition, and rest. This had a profound impact on his physical and mental well-being. He felt more energetic, happier, and healthier. In the professional realm, John's job performance improved dramatically. By saying no to unnecessary tasks and distractions, he was able to focus on his core responsibilities. His productivity soared and his work quality improved. He was respected for his clear boundaries and prioritization, which also resulted in better professional relationships. Finally, the most noticeable change was in John's self-esteem. He no longer felt like a pushover. He felt empowered, confident, and assertive. His newfound ability to say no was a testament to his self-respect and self-worth. He started to value his time, energy, and well-being more than ever. John's life has transformed. He has learned the power of saying no, and you can too. The power to say no is the power to prioritize yourself, to respect your boundaries, and to lead a balanced and fulfilling life. It's a journey, but a worthwhile one that leads to personal growth, self-respect, and ultimately a better quality of life.